Hello YouTube, WJ's Handy Dad here, and today we are fixing a lawnmower that either won't start or starts and then dies really quickly. And we have isolated the problem to be a lack of fuel getting to the engine. So if your mower will only run when you're spraying starter fluid in it, then most likely you're not getting fuel. And obviously if you've checked your fuel tank, the main reasons why you wouldn't be getting fuel would be, one, the carburetor could be dirty. Two, your fuel pump could be bad. Three, your fuel filter could be clogged. Four, you could have a bad fuel line. I suppose 5, you could have an electrical wire somewhere that's been chewed through that's not triggering the carburetor to do what it's supposed to do, or the fuel pump to do what it's supposed to do. Best way to try and figure this out on your own is to think about how old your mower is. So this one is 10 years old. It's got the original carburetor and the original fuel pump. Fuel filter has been changed pretty regularly. So my best guess, based on that, is that the carburetor is dirty or the fuel pump is bad. I'm going to go ahead and just replace both the carburetor and the fuel pump because of the age of the tractor, and if that fixes it, then we know it was one of those issues. And I'm really leaning towards carburetor because if I spray enough starter fluid in it, usually it'll start running, at least for a short period of time. Maybe a couple mowing days, and then it'll start doing the symptom again. So the symptom I was having is, if it had been sitting for a while and then I choked it and started it, it would start and run for a couple of seconds and then die. And as you saw, if I spray starter fluid in it, it'll keep running. So that tells me it's not getting fuel, because if it was air, then the starter fluid wouldn't change anything. If it was spark, it wouldn't change anything, and so on. So the fact that the starter fluid makes it run tells me it's not getting fuel. So this is the fuel pump, so obviously it's the easiest to access. You don't have to do anything to get to it. In fact, I've got the hood completely removed, but you could get to it without doing that. There's a bolt there and there that appear to be holding it on, and then you've just got spring clips around your fuel lines. So I'm going to unbolt that. Mine is held on with 3/8 inch bolts. Sometimes you can get away with using a 10mm in place of a 3/8, and sometimes you can't. This particular one, the 10, wasn't grabbing tight enough. It's a good idea to keep track of your bolts. In this case, they are identical, so it's not going to matter if I put it on the top or bottom. Before you disconnect your fuel lines, you want to clamp them off as best you can and be prepared for some fuel to come out. So you want to have some sort of catch can of some sort to catch the fuel that comes out. Most likely you'll get a little bit when you pull this side, and if you don't have it clamped off, a lot on the bottom. We got our new part. It matches close enough. And remove those rubber caps that are blocking the lines. Remove fuel lines. And the vacuum line. And I'm going to bring these clips back up. So when you haven't broken them, these are pretty resilient. You probably can reuse them for a long time. Now the set that I purchased also came with a fuel filter, but like I said, I do regular maintenance, so the fuel filter is new, or at least new enough that I don't need to change it right now. So I'm going to just put this back on. So we'll just hand tighten these bolts. I don't have a Torx back, but as you see, it's not super tight that I'm putting them on there. They weren't on there real tight when I removed them, so keep them approximately the same. Carburetor is a little more difficult to access. We're going to have to remove this cover, which is going to require removing the bolts on top of here, which if memory is correct, those are about 7 millimeter, as well as the bolts around need to at least be loosened. And if I'm correct, those were 10 millimeter or 3/8. I was off by 1 millimeter. These were 8 millimeter, and that removes that. If you don't remove this, you're not going to be able to remove this. Mine also has 2 screws inside the air cleaner area. Mine has 6 of these 3/8 inch bolts. They don't have to be removed. I mean, you can remove them if you want, but they just have to be loosened enough for that to clear. You need to move your oil drain, your dipstick and oil fill tube may be in the way, as well as the headlight wires. So that should just lift off. And I'm going to go clean this up as well. Having the top cover off also gives you access to this fuel line here. I think it's a good idea to go ahead and replace it if you're replacing anything else, mainly because you can't get to it except when this cover's off, so you may as well do it now. So again, just squeeze, clamp, slide it down, squeeze, clamp off of the fuel pump side, and just pop it off, put a new one on. So it looks like a 5/16 fuel line. I determined that you got to remove these 4 bolts. They have a Torx in the middle. There are 3/8 bolts on the outside. No thanks to the engineers, though they are not really easily accessible. Some of them I literally had to use this and just turn them, you know, a quarter turn at a time until they would loosen up. And that allows you to move this around. And you want to look because there's electrical and at least 2 metal bars connected to this, plus it looks like a vacuum hose in the back here. So usually the metal rods have a very specific method for cleaning them done. Electrical just slides off. Hose just pops out of the back. Hold the fuel line and twist it around so it's up so it won't leak. And I basically had to bend this bar a little bit to get it off of there. So there's 4 nuts on there, and of course, just to be extra difficult, they're 7/16 instead of 3/8. But I loosen them up, and that appears to be the trick to getting this thing apart. And with those 4 nuts removed, you can separate this. And with that, these Seems to turn by hand, which is nice. Front looks like it has gasket, metal gasket, and on the back that's just the gasket. Looks like these screws bottom out. So that should be helpful for transferring over to the new carb. I'm guessing I'm going to reuse this, which looks like it kind of wraps around. So we'll put that one on there. And then for the front, those are identical, so we will put them on there. Just like that. Alright, now we're ready to start reassembling this. And if these metal bars fell off, make sure you thread them back on. I torque these down so they're basically firm. I try to get them as even as possible. And then just put that on there and put your 7/16 nuts back on there. This looks like it only goes on one way. And that rubber hose should go back in here. So I wanted you to see in there how that gets fully seated into there. And there's the rear view. Okay, so you just want to double check that you tightened everything, put everything back on. All of your metal rods are connected. And I think before you put everything back together, you'll give it a test start. Right, so yesterday I was about to demonstrate that it was fixed, and lo and behold, ran out of battery power. And since I was at the shop, I didn't have the charger for the batteries, and I'd already gone through 3 batteries, so put it back together and mowed quite a bit yesterday, so it is working. Putting it back together is just the reverse of the removal. Try to torque down all your bolts evenly, snug without stripping them. That's about it. Anyway, hope the video is helpful. Appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and please tell your friends about my channel. Thank you very much.